In this episode of the Texas Private School Podcast, Jackson Coleman and Concordia travel up to Gloria Snyder to see if there is any underdog magic left in the South. Rosehill will try and channel the cardiac pact to keep the Cinderella season running. Toon and Second Baptist continue the warpath to prove everyone in the state wrong. Sam Jones and Legacy tried to stonewall the hottest team in Texas, and the Kurukshetra dawns over McGregor, Texas, as the battle of the millennia looms on the horizon. All this and more in the semifinal preview of the Texas Private School Podcast. Hello and happy Thanksgiving. Welcome back to another episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. I, as always, am one third of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, joining you from Frisco, Texas. Ryan Schroeder and Walker Lott call in from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and College Station, Texas, respectively. Gentlemen, it's not Thanksgiving when we're recording this, but when the good people at home are watching, it's Thanksgiving, which I think it's crazy that there's still a decent amount of people that will take time out of their Thanksgiving to watch three guys in their mid-20s talk about Texas private school football, but it is the army of sickos we have amassed, and we are incredibly grateful for each and every one of you
I mean,
individually.
it's
Walker Lott,
it's it's that or the Egg Bowl. I mean, we're so much better than the Egg Bowl. You know what I mean?
that is true. I mean, well, I was gonna say I was more just saying it's that or spending time with your family, but I guess at this point when it comes out, most people are sick of Aunt Edna like talking their ear off about politics they don't care about. So you're welcome for giving you a nice reprieve from all of your aunts and uncles you're tired of talking to already. Walker, we are down to the final four teams in each respective divisions. For those mathematically challenged, that is 16 teams remaining in the Texas private school bracket. An incredible time to be alive. We have five great games to cover, and we are finally inching towards the end of the season. Your thoughts on the games on the slate and just the meaning of the cosmos in general?
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of the games and a lot of the teams that are here, or some of them were like, okay, that makes sense. Like the Regents All Sims games was penciled in before the season even started. It was penciled in last season, right? Like games like that made sense. But then there's ones like LSA, Second Baptist that is just a surprise, and that's what the we talked about a lot of parity this year. And I know, I mean, like Liberty is not in the semifinals for the first time in what, 4 years, something like that, right? So a dramatic finish and a craziness in a couple areas. D4 is crazy. D2, it's kind of what we wanted to see. Yes, you have some of the favorites that are still around and knocking, but we have some exciting teams still around.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always fun when we got parity in the sport. There's at least a couple divisions this year where, especially D1 and D3, I thought of that, you can't just look at it and say, that's your state champion. And so far, it's turned out that way. And it's very, very enjoyable to see that. Ryan Schroeder, same question to you. How are you feeling on this fine Thanksgiving Day? And also your thoughts as we move towards the very end of the Texas private school football season?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit exactly what Walker just said. This could be the best season we've had in terms of like anybody could win down the stretch in some of these state championship matchups. Um, Legitimately, if you want my honest answer, there's only one division that has a title winner that like I'm already securing and stuff. The rest of them, I feel like have
I was saying four.
yeah, Division Four. Did I
Yeah.
say that?
I Division two, I think as well, but we'll get to that in the script.
So I agree. That's the other one, but like I'll just say this. I've never gone into the last 2 weeks of the year not being as confident with like who I thought the title winners are going to be, but this year it just feels like TWCA losing last week. Like we saw Holy Cross fall, which I think was inevitable, but also like you didn't know what would have happened there, what after everything that had happened this regular season with them. So like all that to say, we've had so much shakeup, we've had so much change. You could argue out of the 5 years we've been doing the pod, this has been the most exciting postseason leading up to the state championships.
No, I think it definitely is. I mean, we've had, fun years before, but you think of the first 3 years, especially in D1, it's like, well, Parish Episcopal in game. That's it. And
Yep.
it was fun last year, not for Parish to see Liberty come into the fold and go, oh, there's a new sheriff in town. And it's like, okay, well, based on how Liberty was then, Liberty's going to be this team for the next 8 years. They're going to be the new Parish. They're going to rip off six straight.
Right.
And we look up, oh,
Right.
Liberty's gone by the time the semifinals roll around. It's this level of of excitement, this level of unpredictiveness. It makes the sport really fun, especially for three guys that have no dog in the fight, or at least my dog is never incredibly competitive in the fight. Ryan Schroeder, actually,
Yeah, I was
congratulations to
gonna
you
say
for the second straight year. Your squad is the only one left playing in the semifinal
yeah.
round, although my squad actually, we both Walker and I made the first round of the playoffs. SCS made it, right?
Yeah, we did. We lost 62 to nothing, 62 to 2 against Regents, but that we don't talk
Ah,
about that.
well, I think we lost like 51-7 against TWCA. I don't know which ones. We'll call it equally bad. We need to broker a game between Grace and Southwest the next
Mm.
realignment cycle.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We'll make that happen because remember when we first started this, the first round game, I think the first ever playoffs we covered
No,
was
I don't
Grace.
remember that at all, actually. I don't think Grace and Southwest have never played in their two illustrious histories. And anything that you're about to say, you probably hallucinated in a dream somewhere.
Well, some game happened in Fort Worth that I think was the clock ran. I think that's how that term goes. I forget exactly the points and all that, but it was funny because SES right when we started the pod was at an all-time high, back-to-back semifinals in D2. But since then, it's never. We're I guess it's shifted to Ryan. So hopefully, West. That means in a couple years, Grace is the next one up.
I,
And
I
I went up a division. I went up a
Yeah.
division when we made the semifinals
I mean,
too.
you didn't have to say. Listen, I, being a statistics nerd at heart, am an incredibly strong believer in mean reversion. And Grace has always been a solid team. We've had some years where we've been really bad, and ultimately we're going to float back around that trend line, or at least I'm hoping so. Again, I will take any opportunity I can to hijack this program and talk about Grace for like 5 minutes, and I successfully did that in a semifinal episode, which might be my greatest accomplishment to date. All that being said, we actually have five incredible games that we have to get through, and we're going to get this kicked off starting in the granddaddy of all the divisions, Division One, where Concordia Lutheran will play at Parish Episcopal. The Panthers are 37.5 point favorites. Friday night in Gloria Snyder, the South will have one final crack at the North as Concordia Lutheran will travel up Interstate Highway 45 in pursuit of an elusive trip to the state title game. Everyone and their mother is going to be on the side of Parish this game, so I'm going to tell you why Concordia Lutheran can win. Number one, Jackson Coleman might be the best player on the field. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I know, people that don't follow the South's eyes are going to bug out of their head. They'll be like, Jalen Powell's going to Michigan. Logan Lucero is the best quarterback in the country. And Siler Cook and, everyone else, the offensive line, Marcus Hanish, Jackson McKinney. I understand that and I'll get to them. Go turn on our tape from what Jackson Coleman has done this year. Quite literally the most electric guy I've seen in the state this year. And it's on both sides of the ball. That kid is insane. It seems like every game it's, oh, there's a one-handed pick six. Oh, he just won 8 consecutive jump balls. He truly is an MVP candidate in this division. Number two, Malik Liberty and Ryan Nejek are back, and both will be leaned on heavily in the face of a Parish front that is eerily reminiscent of 2022. This offense behind those three weapons is averaging 37 points per game, and I truly believe there is a world where Jackson Coleman alone has 200 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns, and saves a kitten from a tall tree en route to a Crusader win. The problem is, in the other 99 worlds, Parrish is just too much. The combination I was initially skeptical of in Logan Lucero and Jonathan Phillips at quarterback has proven to be a stroke of genius. You can't bracket Pile out wide because then Siler Cook steps into the Darby role and rips you apart. You have Marcus Hanish and Jackson McKinney running behind one of the best offensive lines in the state. Excuse me, the best offensive line in the state. And Hunter Caudill, Andrew Lockie, Gavin Lavelle, and Bailey Wetzel. You have a resurrected defense led by Benjamin Rich, Jesse Richardson, Connor Corwin, Oliver Bickle, and Drew Burton. It's just too much. They're allowing right at 22 points per game, whereas last year they gave up 30. In the toughest division in the land, playing guys like All Saints, playing guys like Prestonwood, playing guys like Liberty, even really good teams like Lynch and Legacy, that is saying a lot. Only giving up 3 touchdowns per game. Listen, this Parish offense obviously isn't what it was last year, but it's close and it's insane after losing a guy like Sawyer Anderson, a guy like Carson Darby, so many incredible athletes that it's still this close. And the defense has taken a massive launch forward. No disrespecting Concordia at all. That spread's accurate. 37.5 points is accurate. I hate to say it. I love Jackson Coleman. I love Malik Liberty. I love Ryan Nejek. I love everyone on that team. Rome Stanford was the guy whose name I was grasping for. Parish is too much. Walker, I tried to rack my brain. I tried to lead it off and say, listen, there's a world where Concordia can do this. I just don't believe it when I say it, and I hate it. But you covered the South a lot more than I do. You've seen Concordia, whereas I haven't. What are your thoughts on the semifinal matchup?
Yeah, I think you kind of explained it perfectly, right? Where Parrish is the absolute favorite in this one. But man, I'm so proud of a historic season of Concordia. Being from the South, I kind of represent these guys a little bit more nowadays. And I've gotten to know these guys really, really well. Rome Stanford was a guy we've covered since he was a freshman. Jackson, since last year, watching him against St. Pius. Ryan coming into his own this year. Nathan Walker is a guy we've covered for years now. It's a really cool team, and I'm excited to see them go. I think it's very interesting, right? When we talked about this game and we were going to have Creighton and Whitney on site for this one, it was not really for, oh yeah, Parrish is going to do the thing. It was more for, hey, Jackson Coleman is going to do something insane. Go there to cover that, right? So I think that's what's going to happen. Jackson Coleman is going to do a lot of insane things on the blue turf up there, but it's not going to be enough. And I think Parrish rolls in this one. And I mean, Lugo and Lucero, a state finalist in his freshman year, starts the cycle once again. So crazy times. Jalen Powell is going to do Jalen Powell things. A lot of fun. Excited to see how it pans out.
I think it will be Ryan Schroeder. I'm gonna assume I know what the pick is because I check your cranium if it wasn't the team wearing red. I assume do they wear red at home? Yeah, I think they do. Anyways, Parish, Concordia Lutheran, Concordia great squad, but I mean Parish just looks, especially the defense, like 2022 Parish. Your thoughts?
Well, I could say, well, I think Jalen Powell's going to get locked up, but that would be the dumbest thing I could ever say. I've already burned myself a couple times this year, making statements like that where I just am flat out lying to you, the public, on this podcast. With all that being said, don't overthink it. I mean, this is Parrish's game to lose. They're truly just overmatched. They're in a different category than Concordia Lutheran is. Concordia Lutheran in the South in general is just not up to the caliber of the North this year. That's proven time and time again. Legacy beating St. Thomas should be just the most massive conclusion of that, of knowing that just these teams in the South do not stack up to these teams in the North by any means. And if the number one team in the North is playing, not the number one team in the South, I think you can kind of do the math in your head here. Ball players all over the field for Parish. And I'm just extremely excited without counting was it counting chickens, counting my eggs too,
Counting your chickens before they hatch.
counting my chickens not counting my chickens before they hatch. I'm extremely excited to see Parrish down in Waco next week.
Ryan, I don't know what's worse, that or forgetting who Paul Revere was.
No, the Paul Revere one was good. I think that was just kind of a lob, low key. I kind of was just like letting y'all duck the bomb.
Well, so okay, so that genuinely, I was like, he's about to say Paul Revere. Isn't that clip was so funny. Always some great.
Shout out
You're
Cole
a very
Johnson.
good farm for no context. I will give you that.
You're right.
All
I
that
am.
being said, we're going to move on after we're all on the side of Parish Episcopal from Division One, steeply downhill to a game in Division Four. That'll be Rosehill versus Brazos, where the Eagles of Brazos are a 40.5 point favorite. Those are two insane spreads for state semifinal games, but here we are. What a season for Rosehill, dude. 1 year removed from going 3-7 and 0 in district play. The Eagles are 7-4 and have found themselves in a state semifinal game. Let it be known, I said their returning of 18 starters might be something to watch this year in our previous episode, and I think a couple people, someone wrote on the script and said Rosehill question mark question mark question mark, and here we are. Now, granted, I think it was you, and I think it's exactly what you did in that preview episode because I went back and watched it last night because I couldn't remember if I actually did that or not. All that being said, we've been on Rosehill since the preseason. You bring back 18 starters, it's gonna be like, okay, they're likely going to have something going on. But this is a team that just straight up pounds the rock. They average 211 rushing yards per game and only average 4 completed passes per game. It feels like a team out of 1985. Junior Caleb Davia leads the way with 688 yards and 7 touchdowns, with junior Benjamin Moore and senior quarterback Matthew Payton rounding out the attack with 436 and 330 respectively. And this style of clock control has led to an efficient defensive output as Rosehill only allows 21 points per game behind contributions from all three levels, with Bo Smith in the secondary, Devin Gay at linebacker, and Jackson Lundgren on the defensive line. However, last I checked, Rosehill's official football account was not utilizing the mind-bending powers of Grok to generate AI videos of their head coach quarter deadlifting, their offensive line jumping on a stack of pancakes, or Ryan Schroeder weeping in a state of
Yo,
lamentation towards Brazos Christian.
yo.
I mean, listen, this was a 47 to nothing contest the first go around. Brumskill, Black, and Williams held an offense averaging over 200 yards per game on the ground to 83, and not a single rusher over 50 yards themselves. With Jacobus finding guys like Carson Ramsey, who is the hidden gem to end all hidden gems, Micah Sacks, Clark Pomalo, Reed Jackson rushing the ball, and the swaggy secondary of cornerback Clark Pomalo, cornerback Davis Wall, defensive back Landon Sands, safety Reed Jackson, defensive back Camden Komar, as named by our very own Sean O'Reilly. I'm not picking against Brazos Christian until the rematch with the Death Star at State. Walker Lott, I mean, great story for Rosehill this year. And I don't even like saying that because it feels condescending. Like, great job, but it's going to end here. But I mean, great job, but it's going to end here. I mean, Brazos Christian, as good as they were last year, I mean, there's some shakeup at the end of last year. We saw, obviously, Coach Black leaves, quarterback leaves. It's like, okay, well, who they got left? Apparently, a lot of good talent. Where, dare I say, I think they look better right now than they did last year. I mean, we'll see, but I do think they have the firepower to get it done over Rosehill, regardless to the answer of that question. And they need to make sure not to look ahead to a potential state title game against First Baptist. Maybe they can hope that Austin Evans and company blow something up in the semifinals and they get a rematch with them. All that being said, your thought on this game in a vacuum?
Yeah, I don't know if they're better, but man, are they good. That's a very good conversation to have. I mean, Hudson Jacobus is playing at an all-time level in Division Four. He's unbelievable this year. Carson Ramsey is coming into. I think he's a true he's going to be the MVP caliber guy next year. Honestly, he has a bright future ahead of him. So many other guys. The trenches have gotten guys in the trenches on both sides, Black and Boheim. Like, we got some dudes there at Brazos Christian. I think, yeah, for the pick, it's pretty easy. Brazos Christian is here, but we put this game on here because of the season that Rosehill has had. They deserve to have a game that they deserve to be covered, right? And they've had a successful season. I think beating Mercy Culture last week is a heck of a win. It's a bright future ahead of them. This is a new AD, a new everything. And you can tell that they've really put a commitment into sports and athletics, and this is a testament to that. So very excited for this game and just seeing the new era of Rosehill football, right? So this game is played on Saturday in Waller, and I think that's the end of Rosehill's story.
Walk a lot. The moniker of the swaggy secondary is named by our very own Sean O'Reilly. Do you think that is accurate given the way that those defensive backs hold themselves?
I'm the only one that's seen him, and I will say, against Central Texas and the multiple interceptions that they had at that one, I'll give them. They might be a tad bit swaggy. They might be, maybe. They're starting a freshman at corner. I think that's awesome. I mean, it's an impressive performance. Um, Micah Sacks is doing great. I like it. Sure, why not? We'll support the intern. They're very swaggy. Sure.
We gotta do it. So those shirts that are popular. I don't even know how to say it, but it's that style where it's like, did you all ever see the shirt that like Cooper Flag had of Liam McNeely? Like,
Oh, like the all the
yeah, it's like
guys.
that style of graphics.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
We need
yeah.
all four of the Brazos Christian defensive backs on a shirt. It's just like swaggy.
Dude.
Don't Sean O'Reilly will wear that to stay probably.
No, he
Don't get
will.
twisted.
We need to hit up Mr. Jacobus and High Point Signs and Apparel. Shout out to get that done. All that being said, Ryan Schroeder. As for the pick, it seems pretty obviously Brazos Christian. Rosehill's had a great season. I just think this team is too much, and I don't know if they're going to be a contender with First Baptist, but I think they deserve to play in that state title game. Do you see anything differently from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, Rosehill has had some great games this year. They won some close ones as well. They won the game against Houseful Sacred Heart by only 4 points. They pulled out one against Versati Catholic with 1 point. So obviously Mercy Culture last week was a massive game that they won. So they've had gritty wins this year, and I think Walker's exactly right. They're on a trajectory where things are looking up and up for them. But the two teams they played this year where they absolutely just were not in the contest at all was Central Texas and Brazos. And I think that just clearly shows that Brazos is just in another caliber, right? Brazos Christian this year against private school opponents has only let up 17 points. That's the most amount of points they've let up this year. They let up more to Hearn, but just 20 points. But I'll tell you right now that like this Brazos Christian defense is elite. They are very elite. Um, in Rosehill, no matter what kind of clock management you can run, I mean, it just Brazos Christian is just in that different kind of category. And I haven't even talked about their offense, right? So all that to be said, Rosehill is extremely impressive. They're on the up and up. It takes years like this to keep improving. In the football program wise, not all teams start at the top. And like Wes has said, honestly, the tides go up and down in these divisions. Realignment happens, different things happen. You're bound to find yourself in a good situation eventually. Great season for Rosehill. Brazos Christian looking to go 12-0 heading into the state championship.
Definitely so underrated storyline that the Eagles are undefeated up to this point and might be yet again moving into a state title matchup. But we're going to pull ourselves out of Division 4 and move up 2 steps to Division 2 as we will see Lutheran South take on Second Baptist, where the Eagles are 13.5 point favorites. In a matchup that every single one of us had on our bingo cards for the Southern semifinals, Robinson and Lutheran South will take on Toon and Second Baptist in each of their respective swan songs. First of all, Second Baptist, what are you doing here? The Eagles started the season 1-6, win their last 2 district games against the Cellar and Fort Bend and Kelly, destroy Victoria St. Joseph's in round 1, and then Edward Burnett forces an errant pass, which is picked by Jordan Jones, and oh my God, he's going to score, and Second Baptist knocked off the Wilderness Christian. That is the series of events that has led to this matchup. Cannon Toon has been hurt, but then playing at wide receiver, but then hurt again maybe, and now is back playing quarterback and has guys like Alan Thomas, Will Newhouse, and Levi Jackson to sling it to. Langston Davis is still one of the best backs in the division and is running behind guys like Siaosi Patton, who is 6'6", 400 pounds. That is 2.35 standard size Wes Tolleson's. But the winner of the first matchup of these squads was the Pioneers of Lutheran South. However, as far as I'm aware, this was while Toon was still not back at quarterback. That said, it's really hard for me to take one electric win against a portfolio of wins that Lutheran South has accumulated. 9-3, averaging 33 points per game on the backs of Holt Teichman, Braden Robinson, Cortez Taylor, Luke Mazur, Joshua Philippon. This is a team that still should be highlighted even more than they have been all season. And I'm taking Second Baptist to win the football game. I listen. I'm a big fan of momentum, and good Lord, nobody has more momentum than Second Baptist right now. I went back, and again, I haven't seen Second this year. I've only seen them twice in the past 2 years. One of those was a state title game last year. The other game was when they came up to ESD. And I'm looking through, I'm like, wait. I mean, I know we dogged them earlier in the year, for some of the bad losses, but it's like, there's still a ton of athletes on this squad. And I just kind of like threw all the records and everything out the window and like kind of looked as the man from space and was like, could this team with these athletes beat that team with these athletes? And yes, I think Second Baptist could. I still think we haven't talked about Langston Davis enough this season. I mean, I think with as many good players on that team, he gets overshadowed a little bit sometimes. As many good backs in the division, he is fantastic. Cannon Toon, obviously, if there's a player you want on your team in a state semifinal matchup, it's going to be Cannon Toon. Listen, I think Braden Robinson is one of the best athletes, not just in that district, but in the entire division. I love Holt Teichman. I think Cortez Taylor is probably good to go, and he's great as well. Luke Mazur is a great receiver for them. I just think, and even though they won the first matchup, I think you add Cannon Toon back into that mix, and Walker, we're going to look up, and Second Baptist, after starting 1-6, is going to end up back in the state title game. I don't know how that happens. It's some Beck Bryden magic down there in Second Baptist. He took the vial from Austin Regents and took it down to Houston, and now it's the juice is a flowing. All that being said, I still think this is a very close game. But I'm going to take the Eagles because I love a good story and I love momentum. Your thoughts on the X's and O's of this contest?
Yeah, you're talking about stories. I mean, there's not better one also if you think about it in LSA. If LSA makes a state title game, I mean, it's a historic season for them. Braden Robinson has done amazing things this year, coming back from injury and kind of helping them chug along to a semifinal game. It's in their neck of the woods. It's in South Houston. Like, this is going to be a home game basically for LSA. You also have to mention, I don't think it's going to be Holt Teichman. Reed Jeffrey might get the nod here for LSA. That's going to be an interesting thing where Holt got hurt in the last game of the season or the first round of the playoffs. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Um, you know, I really want to pick LSA. I really want to. I think it'd be fun. And I think this is a field goal type of game. Like you had the voodoo craziness of the last game where it's just like everything that went wrong for team could have went wrong, right? Where star player goes out with injury in the first quarter, multiple guys get hurt, just everything just looks bad on their sideline. This side, you're going into a team that is fighting for everything they have to make to a state championship. And I don't think it's enough. Give me Second Baptist. There is a part of me, and I wanted to do it just to have someone on another side, but I just couldn't because Cannon Toon is just a flat out winner. We've seen it so many times over his career, whether it's against Fort Worth Christian, whether that's against St. John's multiple times, whether that's against, I mean, uh, Fort Bend last year, right? Other games, he just flat out wins. He finds ways to win. His team does around him, and I think this is another way to do it. And they've somehow, some way, find themselves in Waco for the state title game, and it's an insanity thing. So, shout out to him. Shout out to this team. Shout out to Langston Davis. Shout out to Coach Bryden. But yeah, give me the Eagles.
Ryan Schroeder, I haven't begged you to take one side of a game in a while. I'm gonna try and cash in all my favors, the few that I might have that you owe me. Please take Lutheran South in this game.
It's actually insane that I genuinely thought that both of you were going to come in and pick LSA in this game. Just genuinely on the fact that y'all love how like good of a team they've been this past year and stuff, and how much we've just basically dogged Second Baptist this entire year with their injuries and other things that have happened. But if anyone knows me, they know the fact that like I am a Cannon Tune diehard at quarterback. I know how powerful and what it can be when Cannon Tune is leading this offense. If you don't know this, by the way, Second Baptist led that LSA game earlier in the year into the fourth quarter. They were up 20-14 going into the fourth quarter, and then LSA came out and won that game in the fourth quarter with 10 points. No Holt Teichman. You get Cannon Tune back at the quarterback position at like he's been this past couple weeks. Give me Cannon Tune, bro. Give me Second Baptist. All three on the side of Second Baptist. If you're hearing it LSA right now, Second Baptist is having an Eagle party down in Houston.
What are you doing?
It got to make. I haven't done that all year, really. Honestly, I haven't done
Yeah.
that. So why
Why
not
are
make
you
it?
talking directly to the
No, no,
team that
no.
we all three just picked against like you
So,
want them to
so,
win and then clown us?
so the reason why I'm also doing that too is like I don't know. I feel like all the games this week, even the one we're about to hit in 2 games from now, which could be game of the year, this game still will probably be closer than that game. So why not make it fun?
Yeah. I will say, after that game, I had multiple people tell me, oh, pick LS on the Second Baptist sideline. Pick LSA. We need the motivation. You don't got any
So
motivation anymore.
and I didn't know
Flat
that,
out.
by the way. I didn't know
No,
that.
just I kept this inside because I was really wanting to give them that motivation, but I'm not going to do it. You want a motivation? Just go out and win, and we'll see you
It's
in
the same
Waco.
thing that Parish did a couple weeks ago. Like, you need to pick against us the rest of the way. I'm like, if
No.
you pay me physical money, I will do that. I can't be bribed. I have not seen a blue hundred. I have not seen a Venmo deposit. I have not even seen a smidgen of a Bitcoin fling my way. Once those start rolling in, my picks can be influenced by anyone. We'll have the Venmo or whatever on the screen, and
Yo,
then you can
yo.
pay to influence picks. I listen. Some people pretend to be morally strong people. I have never claimed to be that. I am easily bribed, as is the entirety of the TXPS media program. That's no context talking, of course, not
You,
Wes Tolleson.
Yeah, that is
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
that's
Venom,
Of
like the
course, I'm not
Spider-Man
the same
Venom.
person as no context. I just speak for him from time to time. It's a very confusing relationship.
No context is like the Venom that just like tries to attach to you, but like you have to keep like pulling away. That's what that is.
Continuously. But with that being said, we're going to move back up to Division One for a game against two northern teams, Legacy Christian at Plano Prestonwood, where the Lions are 28.5 point favorites. And then there were four. In the DFW North section of the TAPS Division One playoffs, Legacy and Prestonwood will face off in a rematch of a 51-25 win the Lions secured off of 3 Junior Niffen receiving touchdowns and 3 Braden Bixler rushing scores. After watching Prestonwood take down Liberty last week, this team is playing like the Division One favorite we slotted them as in the preseason. Glass has a nasty receiving core, and Niffen, Darisaw, Shaw, Will Taylor, Bixel, and Morial are running behind that nasty offensive line of Bengard, Kozlowski, Smith, and Schlepp. There's not a weakness in this entire offense. And you're not going to find one on the defensive side either. Eddie Brown's still on the defensive line. Kaler and Cam Pettijohn in the middle, looking like terror incarnate. Luke Linebarger and Landon Hollis in the back end. This is how I felt describing Parish in 2022 and Liberty in 2024 from a pure talent standpoint. It is overwhelming. But Legacy has a potential MVP candidate in Sam Jones, who just reached 500 total tackles in his career. 500. That is averaging 125 per season. That's absolutely insane. He's also accounted for 26 tackles for loss and 5 forced fumbles on the season and 18 touchdowns because literally why not? It's Sam Jones. Jackson Ladd is criminally underrated as a rusher with 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns on the year behind a stout front led by Grant Edwards and Jude Womack. Luke Lawrence is dealing in his senior campaign with 20 passing touchdowns, 9 of which in 762 yards have come courtesy of Brennan Bays. And flanking Jones with guys like Aiden Riley, Jackson Keelblock, Bubba Barnes, and Cash Cartade make you realize this isn't just a feel-good story, it's a damn good football team. That said, let's take a look at the previous matchup. 2 things are apparent. Number 1, Prestonwood absolutely eliminated the run. 14 total rushing yards for Legacy and 8 tackles for loss for Prestonwood, and Prestonwood did literally whatever they wanted on offense. 390 passing yards, 300 rushing yards. It was just, and 2 guys over 100 receiving yards. Now listen, I showed last week I will not pick a team just because they won the last go-around, and Prestonwood proved me right there. But the difference is not nearly as much has changed since these 2 teams last faced off as it did when Prestonwood and Liberty played. I'm taking Prestonwood in this game. I like Legacy a lot. Keep in mind, this is the same Legacy team that pushed Liberty within 4 points in that final regular season game. It's the same Legacy team that went out and sniped the number 1 team in the South. It's not an indictment on Legacy as a team at all. It's just the fact that this Prestonwood team, I think, can go out and win a state championship. And I don't think Legacy is quite in that upper echelon of the top 3 at this point. I think they're great. I think any team with Sam Jones is going to have a chance to be in it late in the game. But, I mean, what? It said the spread was, 28.5? I don't know about that. I think there's a decent chance this is a 21 point win for Prestonwood. Walker Lott, I think that's accurate. I think 2 things can be true. The first being Legacy is a great team and would win the South. But number 2, this ain't the South, and Prestonwood's one of the best teams in the state. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it pretty well. I'm not going to say too much. My pick is, of course, Prestonwood here. I think it just makes too much sense. I think they get back to the title game for the first time since 2021? I think that's the last time. The year before, no, 22.
22 as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So still a great season for them. And on the flip side, I think Legacy, you talked about Aiden Riley last week, Jack Caswell coming into his own. Jackson Ladd has to get going for them to have a chance in this one. And Luke Lawrence, man, cool, calm, and composed quarterback. And he would make a lot of college teams happy because he's just confident back in the pocket and he makes things happen with his legs or with his arm. It's going to be a good game, but I think Prestonwood pulls away in the second half. Give me Prestonwood.
Yeah, they definitely didn't play state in 2021 because that was Parish versus Midland, correct?
Yes, because then next year was McGuire Martin versus Parish, and then it was the next year was St. Thomas versus.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was St. Thomas versus Parish, then Liberty versus Parish. No.
Well, I was going to say, the reason why I remember 22 is because it was Eusebio going in against his former team and winning a title against his former team.
Yeah.
And I was looking.
By the way, speaking of that, did you see that like Eusebio plays for Arizona State?
Yeah, he does. Cool. Along with I mean, he wasn't a TXPS guy, but Jordan Tyson, which is obviously Jalen's brother, is like one of the best wide receivers. The 2 guys, both from DFW, both killing it out there. So.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's Ryan Schroeder. In terms of this game where Prestonwood's taking on Legacy Christian, your alma mater, you haven't been too you've been supportive, but you haven't been too biased towards your alma mater. Whereas if Grace was playing All Saints in this game, I'd be taking Grace. Your thoughts on your alma mater going up against what might be the best team in D1?
Yeah, so I think that's a fair statement to say. I will call you out on the fact that the big difference is that Jude didn't play in the first time they played this game. Jude
Right.
missed ever since Friday, October 10th, up until the first round of playoffs. He missed all those games, and so he didn't play in this Prestonwood game, which was the week after he got hurt. Um, and that's a big loss. I was looking through the film and stuff, and I see Grant Edwards and stuff, and obviously one lineman doesn't make the total of what an entire game is. But when you see Jude Womack and what he does for this legacy offensive line, you could argue that in some aspect or another. All that to be said, I have raved about Prestonwood this year. I have raved about them down the stretch and what they do. In terms of just the playmakers they've had. I went on a rant about AJ Morial last week in the recap as well. Like, I'll just tell you this right now. I am a legacy diehard, but I am just not a delusional diehard. I realize that there's four teams in the North that would have done the exact same thing as Legacy did down in Houston. I just want to be fair and I want to make the right decision. Shout out to Legacy. Another semifinals is another successful season. Things are going the right way. You're running into Prestonwood. It's just what is inevitable. What is inevitable. Shout out to all the guys. Shout out Luke Lawrence. Shout out Sam Jones. This has been an incredible season. I'm hoping that they can make it close, but I just Prestonwood is getting into their own right now, in my opinion. So give me Prestonwood in this matchup.
Well, through four semifinal matchups, we have not differed on a pick once. And if there was ever a pick for us to all differ on, it would likely be the game we're going to preview right now. That is Fort Worth All Saints versus Austin Regents, where All Saints is only a 4.5 point favorite. To begin, an excerpt from the Apostle John's vision in the book of Revelation. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed with blood, and these were thrown upon the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. And a third of the sea became blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died. A third of the ships were destroyed. The fourth angel blew his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of their light might be darkened, and a third of the day might be kept from shining, and likewise a third of the night. This is going to be the scene in McGregor, Texas, when these teams are finished with each other. Call it Ragnarok, call it the end of days, call it the Kurukshetra. This feels like the game to end all games. Regents is the unstoppable force. They average almost 500 yards per game. Jack Devine has accounted for 64 touchdowns. Millington, Smith, Novy, and Millington the Younger might constitute the best receiving room in the state. Nippa, Prater, Angelo, Rader, and Rob are bearing down on you defensively. Regents has put on a level of dominance that we reserve for the parishes, DCs, and First Baptist of the world, averaging 51.5 points per game, allowing only 16.3. For those mathematically challenged, that is an average margin of victory of over 35 points per game. They've already knocked off a top 10 team in Kincaid, and no one has come within 20 points of them save Lorena. But All Saints is a team that we've touted as the best in the entire state. I said Regents has one of the best wide receiver rooms in the state. All Saints has the best. Reeser, Starling, Bryles, French, double any of those guys at your own peril. Burke Toller running the ball behind Eric Adcock, Drew Edmonds, Jax Thomas, and Barrett Bray. A defensive line of Ryan Powers, Kingston Byer, Cade Colson, Gatlinger Hard. Most teams in the state don't have a single person of that caliber on their defensive line. All Saints has 5. Add in Keon Adkins, Donovan Hollis, and the lightning rod Tim Burton into that equation, and it becomes evident why we have All Saints as the best team in the state, regardless of division. That said, this is the first time in the previous 3 seasons that Regents will have their starting quarterback in a semifinal or championship game. Great. 2023 saw freshman Devine replace Quinn Murphy, and 2024 gave us Bobby Long replacing Devine. Regents lost those games by 42 and 16, respectively. So that raises the question, is a 3,200-yard passer with 64 touchdowns worth 16 points? Unquestionably, yes. I'll end today's message with a reading from the 37th Psalm. For the Lord loves justice. He will not forsake his saints. They are preserved forever. The pick's All Saints. It always has been. It always will be All Saints. I think Regents is a fantastic football team. I think Regents is the only team in the state that is worth mentioning in the same conversation as All Saints in Division Two. And I think we'll see that because whoever All Saints is matching up with the state is going to lose by 30 points. I think it's close. The one thing I keep going back to is that I think All Saints has been tested more throughout this season, and I say that in Regents beat Kincaid, they beat Lorena, they beat good teams. Once they got into district, all those good teams fell off. I mean, listen, you said the best district win you have is probably Brook Hill. I mean, listen, it's not like teams like Southwest Christian, no offense, Grapevine Faith, all of Lubbock Trinity are good teams, but you've also got Midlands and Fort Worth Christians that are better than the top two in that other district. They beat Parish and Prestonwood in the non-district. I just think if you're looking at two teams, and we'll call them evil from a skill, even from a skill standpoint. I don't think quite even. I think All Saints is a little bit ahead. For the sake of the argument, even. I think All Saints' resume up to this point has them more battle tested and more ready for moments like this. Walker, we are going to have 5 people on site to provide coverage for this game. We're treating this like the state championship in Division Two because no offense to the other side of the bracket, this is the state title game. It absolutely is. As you can tell from the energy in the script, am more excited for this game than I have been for any game at any point this season. What are your thoughts going in to what we're going to call the game to end all games in Division Two?
I mean, I think that's absolutely the saying of this game. I am so excited. This was the thing where Wes and I was like, I think Wes was like, "Yeah, I'll be at the game," and I said, no, I will also be at that game. I'm not missing this one." And there's a reason both of us are going to this one because it's absolutely the state championship. I'm very excited for this. These are two well-coached ball clubs. These are two teams, and when you talk about private school sports in the state of Texas, these are the teams you think about. Their culture, everything you want a program to be built about is these two teams. Austin, it is born and bred. When you think of private school football in Austin, you think of Austin Regents, and you think of the same thing in Fort Worth. These two schools run their cities, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. Every year Regis is going to come to the thing with a guy or two that's going to go play Division 1 football and 10, 15 other guys that are going to be the most sound physical football players you have ever seen in your life. On the flip side, you're going to see Regents be or All Saints be one of the most talented teams you'll see in the state, bar none, right? Every from top to bottom, from kicker the freshman to the top of the food chain and the quarterback and Gavin Beard, they're going to be very, very good at football. And I'll come with my pick in here, and it's sunny. When you were talking about Ragnarok, I was getting kind of ready for that type of message. And I don't know if you've ever played God of War, but it's the second game of the new franchise is God of War Ragnarok, where of course that what happens. And Kratos says a thing at the very end of the game before they start and go into War of Ragnarok, and it says, "Wars are won by those that are willing to sacrifice everything. If that is the cost of vengeance, so be it." You think Blake Smith and Cade Millions are not going to give everything they have to win this football
Mm,
game? You think
mm,
these seniors like Charlie Burton and everyone are not going to give everything they have?
mm.
Give me Regents. Give
Whoa.
me Regents. I think this is the game to win. This is the game. And there's a scene, I'm gonna make it into a meme. We're gonna put on no context, I think, but like all of the other like realms of the world come into this thing to go to battle in this game. And I think of like all the other teams that have gotten beaten by this team that want this game to happen. Everyone is on the side of Regents to stop the big bad All Saints. And I think they do it. Jack Devine is playing at a level like you should go watch the Midland tape. He was unworldly in that game. 5 touchdowns, one of them on the ground, 100 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns through the air, one on the ground. He went like, I think he had like 60, 70% passing completion on a Midland defense. The first touchdown of the game is he broke multiple tackles, spun around, find Cade Millington, touchdown. He is playing at an MVP level. Right now, he might be my MVP of TAPS Division 2. This is the guy who is playing out of his mind. How can I bet against that? How can I bet against Blake Smith? How can I bet against Cade Millington? Isaiah Mills probably returns in this one. Charlie Burton probably returns in this one. This team is legit. This is a team, when it comes down to the wire, things happen. When you talk about the pick six in the state championship a couple years ago, things just go their way. And I think it happens again. Give me Regents.
Perpetually my favorite play that's ever happened in Texas private school football. But a point that I think is interesting is that you think of the chemistry that Jack Devine has with those guys. And I think of that from the standpoint of a receiver that had the same quarterback since I was in the seventh grade. And it's like, listen, we weren't world beaters, but if we were playing 7-on-7, like, you know exactly where your guy's going to cut, when to put the ball out. And it's interesting because you look at Gavin Beard and you're like, all right, he's only been there for a year. Is that any different? Well, I think he was at All Saints in middle school. And he's also very close with a lot of those guys. So it's not still the same comparison. That being said, if there's any argument to be made for Regents, I think that's a major one, is that's why Jack Devine is throwing for 3,200 yards and 64 touchdowns, because he knows those receivers like the back of his hand. Ryan Schroeder, for the first time this episode, we are each on different sides of this contest. It's funny to me that the man from Fort Worth picked against All Saints, but I think you're now more the man from the South, being in College Station for the last 5 years and basically repping an incredibly good Austin Regent squad. I'm so happy that we're at least split on this one game, but you got to pick one side or the other. For the end times, what side are you picking?
I first off want to say that I am extremely sad that I cannot be at this game. Extremely sad that this is not in Waco. I am extremely sad that this is just how the brackets are set up and that this game has to be played in the semifinals. I'm like genuinely could not be more upset. Two 12-0 teams. Wes and Walker have teed it up perfectly. They put themselves on both sides. And I get to end the episode to make the biggest pick of the year. You could say the biggest pick of the year. I have rode with All Saints this entire year. I've also been a Jack Devine, supporter throughout this entire time. I've messed up the Millingtons names, but you just got to know that I've been there with Regents as well. I know how talented these teams are. I've said this is the best Regents team you've seen. I said this could bar for bar go with some of the best All Saints teams you've ever seen in All Saints of 2022s. These teams are just elite. The difference is All Saints isn't just elite. They're the best team in all of Texas private school. TXPS, read it on Walker Lott's hat. That's what we cover. Out of every single one of the schools, SBC, all the TAB schools, Division 1 through Division 4, if you weren't already thinking that, every six-man team as well, because I know some of you diehards probably think they're better. With all that being said, they're the best team. I saw them play Parish week 1. I saw the tape of them beat Prestonwood week 2. They're better than everybody. Everybody. They're going to beat both the teams that are in the state finals for D1, most likely. You're telling me they couldn't beat Austin Regents? The team the team that's struggling to get off the ground and beat them the last 3 years. You tell me Regents is going to come in here and get this victory after that? No, what's the dunk animation? It's you're too little. This defensive line, this team, All Saints is them, bro. All Saints is them. That's pedigree. That's a coach that has been through it, that gets guys to the next level like nobody else in TXPS. Give me Fort Worth All Saints. Give me everybody in Fort Worth. And we're about to see a smacking in the state championship when they get there. This game is going to be a game of the century, though. This game is going to be a game of the century. I'm not saying this game is going to be a smacking. I'm just telling you, when All Saints gets to the finals, it will be a smacking. This game is going to be another game of the year. Give me All Saints. Give me the crew. I'm telling you that right now.
You are a greater liability than no context TXPS. I really want
true.
you to know
That's
that
not
in
true.
this moment.
That's not
I am now
He
putting
takes
forth
Greyhounds on our dime, dude. That's not a more
Yeah,
liability.
and he's the greatest content machine for this program that we have, and we will continue to push that. I am now forwarding a motion to replace Ryan Schroeder's chair with No Context TXPS going forward. No Context will say some incredibly egregious things about probably certain sects of people, but at least he won't go out and say that one team's going to kill another when we picked against them.
This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous.
Ryan, I understand content.
No, this is a ridiculous show because I can say my thoughts on this show. I can say my thoughts. I know what I know. All Saints got me.
Sure. You know what? Sure. Whatever. Everything Ryan said, I'll co-sign. Don't care. I don't care at this point in the season. Let's ride, dude.
Let's
The thing
ride.
is, you can say this because you're not going to be on site. And if Regents wins, they're not going to discriminate who said that. They're going to be like, oh, they both
Yeah.
said that, and they're
Yo,
going to kill me.
This is true.
And guess what? They're not going to kill me because I'm going to tell them Jaden was the guy that said it for both of us. So then they'll kill Jaden. So guess what? We're fine regardless. I listen. I
Can I
I
want to say
thought this
something.
out.
I want to say something. When I
oh
talked
my
about
God.
revenge and vengeance and my the God of War quote, this was something that remember, Jack Devine was on the sideline watching this last year. And I remember the story of Jack Devine literally went into the locker room, came out with pads on because he didn't start this game. He was in whatever, not dressed, came back out and tried to throw and get into this game. He wanted to get in this game. He literally physically could not run to win to save his life, and he tried everything he could to win and get into this game and win this game last year. I think he understands. He saw this from the sideline. He wants to get vengeance. In my words for Austin Regents, do it for Bobby Long. Let's ride.
Oh no, I hate that you said that because now that makes me feel bad. That's such a
I,
that's
I
such a
don't feel
feel
I
good.
don't feel bad at all. I think Regis is a
What?
great program.
Oh,
Ryan, you should feel bad. By the way, I
no,
came on
I
no.
here.
thought,
I
dude,
gave
I
a
just,
very no no no
I
no no.
just,
I gave everyone stop talking. I gave a very clear cut, laid out statement to where I think both teams are good, but All Saints is going to eke out a narrow win in the
yeah.
semifinals. And Ryan's like, y'all suck. You're not All Saints.
No. If you're still watching, which I feel like any person from Austin has turned off the program at this point. But if you're
No,
still
they
watching,
haven't. They've replayed it 4 times.
okay, but they're replaying that part. They don't care about this part anymore. I will say this: you've heard me rave about them all year long. I think that's a lot more for show, and genuinely,
oh
it is
yeah,
for 100. You have to understand that. I just like I told you, this is one of the best Regents teams we've ever seen. There's no question about that. Um, yeah, that was a lot more for show, and I probably should have healed that back a little
no,
bit.
own it. I
But
like it. I like
I
it.
do
Own
like
it.
it.
no, because like the Second Baptist one, I genuinely believe this one. I just like I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout in the slightest. This is gonna be game of the year. I'm extremely excited.
Is it a
Um,
14 plus? Is it a 14-point game, Ryan Schroeder?
oh gosh, man. I don't know. I think one of the LSA, SBS, or this game will be a 14 point. They both won't be close. One of them's gonna be a little bit out of the reach, but I don't know which one's gonna be which though.
I've gone back and forth on this. I mean, just genuinely, I think it's going to come down to, and I don't know anything about Regents' offensive line. Obviously, they're good if they've put up the amount of points they have. Can they stop that front? Because that is the best front in the entire state, and we're going to figure that out really quickly
Yeah.
on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah,
But
they're bigger than last year, which I'll say that. I think they're bigger than last year, which is a good thing for them.
yeah, it'll be interesting. But with that being said, after I think we might have spent close to 30 minutes on that game alone, as we should have, because it is the best game that we have previewed the entire year. That wraps up our content on this beautiful Thanksgiving. To those of you that have gathered with your families to watch three babbling men go on about Texas private school football for the last hour and change, we thank you. We wish you safe travels to whether you're going home from your respective family gatherings or you're traveling to places like McGregor or Dallas or Abilene, of all places.
Italy.
Italy, Texas. Enjoy your travels. Drive safe. We will see you at any of our respective locations we'll be on site for. But as for myself, as for Ryan Schroeder, as for Walker Lott, who have fantastically been themselves, we will see you in the next episode. See you later.